I knew I wanted to be a midwife from when I was around about 14. Because I'm an only child, I feel like I had a bit of an obsession with pregnant people and where babies came from. And I couldn't believe that like our bodies could grow bones. Hospital that I wanted to go to, that I'd interviewed 3 times without getting a job. I got that job and I actually said in the interview, I'll be here for life now. Like, this is it. Like, I'll not move.
Plot
Being
twist,
here,
that wasn't her journey.
Everyone looks in the future too far.
Yes.
And then they're terrified. They think, how am I ever going to get there? I think the little steps are the things that you need to do rather than thinking of the mammoth steps. What is going on right now is not ever what I expected to go on.
Today's guest is a true inspiration when it comes to life reinvention. After building her career as a midwife in the UK, she bought a one-way ticket and made the courageous move to Australia, sharing her journey online and growing a large, thriving community. But her story goes far beyond midwifery. Recently, she stepped away from her clinical career to pursue content creation, travel, and helping others relocate and build new lives abroad. She's proof that trusting your intuition, even when the path isn't clear, can lead to a life beyond what you once imagined. If there was ever the perfect person to talk about trusting your instincts, challenging the status quo, and giving yourself permission to evolve, look no further. Sydney Graves, welcome to Not So Status Quo.
Yay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm very, very happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Are such an interesting woman with a very interesting journey that is rapidly unfolding by the day.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give your current life chapter a title, what would it be?
Oh, well, I don't know, transition or change. It's just something to do with flipping something. It's just completely, it's what is going on right now is not ever what I expected to go on. So it's just, I thought I was going to be on a certain path and it's completely changed in the last couple of years, especially the last 6 months, my path. So I guess, yeah, change, pivot, transition, something like that.
And what was it prior to this?
Conform. Like, oh, I must do this because I'm a robot and that is what everyone else does.
Follow the status quo.
Yeah, literally just following what everyone else thinks is the norm. And I guess, I don't know if the things that haven't happened in my life with, because I've had a lot of death around my family and a close friend, if those things didn't happen, I'm not sure. I guess it probably would have happened because it's ingrained in me to not behave. So like not conform. It would have happened, but I don't know if it would have happened quite so quick.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about young Sydney. And what was she passionate about? What did she love to do? What lit her up?
I guess when I was a child, my mum brought me up by herself. So she was very good at putting me in lots of different sports. And I loved going to gymnastics and dancing and singing and all of those type of things. But swimming, I absolutely loved swimming. My mum used to take me swimming and they were like, you're really good, you can go up. So I went up, but then all of them were like 3 or 4 years older than me. So they used to like segregate me and I'd be like left out, but I loved it so much. And I just loved it. So and then when I went on holiday, I was always swimming and doing stuff like that. But I guess being with my friends, because I was brought up by my mum, I had really close friends that were like siblings. So I used to spend a lot of time after school, weekends going away with my friends and stuff. So I guess, yeah, being out of school, I really didn't like school. So just being out and about and eating food with my friends and having a laugh and watching Tracy Beaker. I don't know if you'll know what that is.
No idea. No.
Oh God. I was like an old woman when I was about 15 and I used to go, my friends would all be like going out to drink on a weekend and I'd be like, I'm just going to go home and watch Tracy Beaker and eat sausage and mash with my mum. I mean, it's like a kids program.
Yeah. And to someone in their mid-30s, that sounds like a brilliant weekend.
Oh gosh, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, as a kid, I guess what lit me up was being busy all of the time, having like plans to do stuff. I very rarely kind of sat around. But then again, me and mum would like spend a lot of time on an evening, like chilling together, which was really nice. I liked that time that I had with my mum.
And so what happened after school? What did you go into next?
Well, at school, so I really struggled at school. And I think obviously recently being diagnosed with my ADHD, I really felt segregated at school. Like I would be part of a popular group or like a normal group, but I made me only have like one very good friend. And I really struggled because all of them were doing quite well with their exams and stuff. And I didn't do so well. But what I was like, my teachers used to say to me, we love you outside of the classroom, but not in the classroom. Because I have a personality that I think people are like, oh, she's daft and jokes and she's easy to like. But when I was in the classroom, I couldn't concentrate. I'd swing on my chair. I'd forget to put my hand up. I'd call out. And all of my friends were like, not like that. They were quite well behaved. So they all stayed on at school. And I tried to stay on at school, but I only got 4 GCSEs and you need 5. I don't know what it is over here, but you need 5 GCSEs to go on to sixth form, which is like where you go pre-university.
Oh.
And I only got 4. And my mum was a teacher at the time. And she was like hammering how much I needed to revise, which I completely ignored because I just always ignored instructions. And all of my friends were staying on at school. And I was like, I really want to stay on. So I went to go and see my head teacher. And I was like, sir, please let me stay. And he was like, all right then. And he just let me stay. Yeah. So had to have 4 to 5 GCSEs, but I only got 4. And he was like, okay, I'll let you stay. I then got 3 U's and an E and failed my first year because my mum stopped telling me to revise and was just like, do what you want. And I did nothing. And I used to go to like breakfast I would go to my lessons, but I would always just go to breakfast over the road and not do any revision. And I really messed up. But I knew I wanted to be a midwife from when I was around about 14. Because I'm an only child, I feel like I had a bit of an obsession with pregnant people and where babies came from. And I couldn't believe that like our bodies could grow bones, and it is insane.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted to be a midwife, but I didn't know at that point that I was better at learning practically and on the job. And something that midwifery and nursing does is you do a lot of mixed practical and then education within the school. And something that I found when I was at school is the teachers that would tailor how they taught me so that I could learn better, I would do well in their class. So like maths, I'm awful at maths. If you ask me like what 6 times 7 is, I'm like, I'm just really bad. But my teacher I remember she used to sit down, she'd be like, right, you've got a pizza. It's got pineapple on 2 of them. It's got pepperoni on these. And then I would like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. And it would be like, that would help me learn. So I was like, I want to do midwifery. So I know that I have to do X, Y, Z to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I left sixth form. And I was like, right, I feel like at school it's like you're in the army. And I was like, I hate this, like calling them sir and miss. And I didn't like that I was still being tracked like a child.
At this time. You can go to the bathroom at this time if you ask permission.
It's bizarre. So I was like, right, I'm going to go to college. And the college that I went to was coursework only, no exams. And I really struggled with exams, but I did better with coursework because I could go and interact with my tutors and they could explain things to me better. So the first year I just went out every night because I was like, whoa, I can go and drink alcohol and do what I want. And then I didn't do so well. And then the second year I was like, great, I need to really knuckle down now. So I did really well. Like I got the equivalent of like 3 A's and a B or something. And I thought, right, I found something that I'm actually good at that I want to do. So then I didn't get into university the first year. It was really hard to get into midwifery, like something like 12 or 1,300 applied when I got in and 50 were getting a place.
Wow.
So it was quite hard to get in. And then when I got into university, I had about 75 meltdowns over the 3 years. But I knew when I was on placement that I would get like graded well. Like when I was on placement, I would get like 90% or 85%, which was really good. Like not very many people got that. And then I would struggle more with the other stuff. But I had a tutor who was like just amazing with me. And like I could message her all the time and all of those type of things. So that really helped me along the way, like get somewhere. And I guess when I got my degree and I got a first class honours degree and I couldn't believe that I'd got it. I was like really like happy with myself for getting it and like proud of myself. And I've never felt that before. Throughout school, I'd never felt like I was good enough. I always felt like a bit of an outsider and like, why am I not doing as well as them? And I think now being diagnosed with ADHD, I feel a bit of guilt for my child self that if it was more well known then, they might have known how to, I don't know, handle me or teach me in a different way that's more practical.
Tailor their teaching styles.
Absolutely. And I don't even think that they're that good at doing that now, but I think that there's more awareness around it. It really does help. But there's 2 things that really stick in my mind. When my mum told me when I was at nursery, she came to pick me up when I was like 4, and the nursery nurse was like, she'll not go far in life. Yeah. What the hell?
But like that sticks with people.
Yes.
Like, and that's also horrible for a parent to hear about their child.
Yeah. And my mum was just like, Because I think it's because I didn't do as I was told. I was very much against the grain. So I just did what I wanted all of the
Mm.
time. And I think that that was really challenging. And it was for my mum as well. And then when I was at school, there was a teacher called Mr. Francis. And he was awful. And he was just like, you are like a black hole. You suck the life out of everything.
He said that to you?
Yeah. When I was like, I must have been, I don't know whether I was in middle school. So I was early teen. And he said that to me. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
But this is all then feeding into and reinforcing that belief and that identity and that
Yeah.
self-concept that I'm not great at school
Yeah.
and I'm different to the other kids, and am I
100%.
not going to go far?
That's it. And it's really bizarre because I've done a lot of work with therapists and stuff about, the child, adult, parent roles. And something that I've done a lot of work on, because I felt like when I was at school, I felt like a child. And then I felt the same. Like if I was in a lecture, I felt like all of these people around me were adults. But if I would be really nervous to say an answer or something in case I got it wrong, even though I knew that it was right, because I was like, well, they know better than me. And then I felt like that every time I went for a job interview. So I went for several job interviews to be a midwife, knowing that I was a good midwife, but crumbling when I go into an interview, because I felt like small. I felt really small, and I felt like they were really big and they knew more than me, when actually all they're doing is asking me scenario-based questions of what I do every day. But because of the environment and how it made me feel and how it would take me back to what I was like when I was a child, it really then used to affect me. So I actually got my mum was dog walking someone near where she lived, and she was doing what's it called when you I've got one at the minute. Life coach. She was doing a life coach degree, and she wanted to do it for free for someone. And she did it, and she changed my thought processes around interviews and how I go in. And I went into the next interview I got and got it, and it just changed completely. And I feel like now I'm like, no, I do know what I'm talking about. Stop being silly. And I'm able to kind of squash that down. But it is always there, in the back of your head a little bit.
Especially if you're not used to achieving in the
Yes.
way that society tells you
Exactly.
is achieving.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that you would want to play small because you're like, oh, what if I get rejected? Like
Yeah.
our brain likes to keep us safe and
Yeah.
keep us protected from scary, potentially unknown situations.
Absolutely.
So, oh,
I know.
so you obviously got a job
Yes,
eventually.
got a job. So I went to Sheffield University, it's like middle of the UK, and I lived in Newcastle, which is north near Scotland. And I basically got 3 years at uni. Then I came home, and then I got a job just outside of where I lived. So like a 30-40 minute journey. And I didn't really want to work there, but actually it was a smaller unit. So I ended up, whenever I go somewhere new, for the first 6 to 9 months, people look at me like I'm an alien, because I'm so like loud and no filter. People like go, I really don't like this girl, or I really like this girl, or they're really wary around me. And then honestly, they then realize that I actually work hard and I'm actually nice to be around when I'm at work. And then they're like, oh no, we like her now. But for the first 6 months anywhere, there's always like this, like, it's like me testing boundaries of people and what they can take and what they can't take. And as an adult, it's a bit harder now, because I'm like, I'm an adult, I need to behave more. But when I got that job, when I first got there was a few midwives who were older, they were quite like bully-esque, like not very nice to me. And that really was really tough for the first 6 months. And then I think they realized that I actually did work hard and I really was trying. And then I started to integrate a lot more. But I've never really had like a huge group of friends out of work. Like I've spoke to them in work, and I'm very chatty and like can talk all day to them. But I kind of keep myself separate, and I don't really know why, but I do just kind of keep myself a little bit separate, and I have my own friends that I'm very comfortable with who know me and understand me. I don't really ever, especially in England, I don't really ever go out and meet new people, but being here has forced me to kind of do that, which is quite nice.
It is interesting when you think about the friendships and the people that you work with, because you spend so much time with people at work and you can get along with them. But I think sometimes it is nice to have a certain degree of separation so that you can really fully switch off.
Yeah, and not talk
Though,
about work.
yes,
Yeah, because that's something that when you're a midwife, you end up, that's all you kind
I
of
can
talk about.
imagine. And are you on call as well when you're a midwife? Like,
No, it depends which hospital you're
okay.
in and depends which role, but not like not like a generic midwifery role, no. So when I first started at the first hospital, it was a bit smaller, which meant I knew everyone. So it was so nice because I was always working on shift with people that we knew. Everyone knew everyone's names. It was a smaller unit. We got to know each other. You realized what people were good at and they knew what you were good at and whatnot. So I worked there for 4 years and I progressed to get to my band 6, which is basically where you can do suturing, so sewing vaginas basically.
Wow.
So like stuff like that, cannulation, blood transfusion training, all of those things that you don't really learn at university, but you learn on the job. So I did all of those things. And then the hospital that I really, which was like a hospital that I wanted to go to, that I'd interviewed 3 times without getting a job, I then was like, right, what can I do? Saw someone, they taught me to kind of do better in interviews and how to prepare for it and how to have confidence in myself. And then I got that job and I actually said in the interview, I'll be here for life now. Like, this is it. Like, I'll not move. I remember saying, this job, I've wanted to work in this hospital for
You
however
put it on
many
a
years.
pedestal, and
Yes.
that was the goal.
Yeah. And I was like, I won't leave Newcastle. I'll never leave Newcastle. I'm buying a house here. I will meet someone and I will stay here. And that's what I said. And that's what I believed. Honestly, that's what I believed. That's really what I thought. So
Plot
being
twist,
here,
that
yeah.
wasn't her journey.
No, it's mental. And then I did two and a bit years there. So I've been qualified 9 years nearly now, which is
Wow.
crazy. Goes so quick. So yeah.
Tell me about the gap between you sitting with me today on the lounge in Brisbane at this studio and leaving and being at that hospital.
Well, when I was at the hospital, I loved it. Same again, the first 6 months, it was a bit, And also being in midwifery and nursing, it can be very bitchy because there's lots of women. So it was a bit hard to get in there, but then I got in quite well and I liked everyone and we got on really well. And then when, I don't even know how old I was, I must have been about 27 or 28. My best friend, Charlotte from university, she got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I think that something just switched in my brain a bit when she was diagnosed. Like, I remember her calling me. I remember her crying. I like vividly remember everything about that. And then I was going into work and I'd just met my ex at that, like she was unwell and I'd met my ex. And then I remember saying after like 3 months of being with Tom, no, I think I want to move to Australia. Like, I just want to move away. Like, it really changed the perspective. And she said something like, we were talking, we used to talk like voice note and stuff. And she just said, I'm really sad that I'm not going to be able to do all of the things that I want to do. You think that you've got ages to do lots of things and you hold money and you don't go on that holiday or you don't go away for that weekend or you don't go for that meal or you don't meet someone and just have a baby. Like, you don't do any of these things on a whim because you're so worried that it's going to be the wrong decision. But now I can't have all of those things because I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And then she got engaged. They gave her 3 months if she had no treatment and 12 months if she got treatment. And she survived over 2 years. She had lots of different like treatments and stuff and did loads of trials, and she got engaged and married in that time. So that was really lovely for her. And I really liked that she was able to do those things. But that really changed. And that made me think, right, I want to do something else. So then, yeah, I remember saying, I think I want to move to Australia. And there was a girl at work who was like, oh, I've spoken to a recruitment agent and she's helping people move out. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I thought, oh, I'll probably not do it. But I just knew like inside that something was saying, I think you need to go and explore and do something different. So I said to Tom, I want to go. He was like, no.
Had you been before?
Yes, I had.
Okay.
So I'd actually been with my friend that died of cancer. She was already here. And then she was traveling and then she was an au pair. And then I came to travel the East Coast and I met her for like a week or so. And then she went back home. So I'd had lots of photos and stuff of her in places that I've been to since I've got here, which is funny. And I was like, I really liked it there. Like, I really loved it there, but I didn't ever think I was going to live there. And it had been 7 years since I'd been, but I had kind of been, but I'd never been to Melbourne. And when I'd spoken to the recruitment agent, she was like, we've got places in Melbourne. And that was kind of it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just go with that. And to be honest, I do love Melbourne.
I
Like,
mean,
it's amazing.
I often say, like, if I wasn't in Brisbane, I
Yeah.
absolutely would be in Melbourne.
The only thing is the weather. That's the only thing that really puts like a spanner in the works, because it feels like I'm in England when it's the winter. But yeah. So I said, bugger it, I want to go. And Tom, we'd only been going out, as I say, for like 3 to 6 months or something. And he was like, no, 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 no. And then he was having trouble at work and he thought, oh, bugger it, yeah, we'll go. So we started the process. It took a little bit longer for me to get my visa and stuff. So we were together for just under 2 years, but we moved then out together. And then after about 6 or 8 weeks, we were like, I don't think we should stay together. Yeah.
That soon into
Probably
it.
after about 3 weeks, probably after being in an intense environment,
Yeah.
which is stressful, and there's only the two of you, and there's no mediator when you have conversations because your friends and family are asleep. If you're having arguments or discussions or anything like that, you're just the two of you. And so I own my own house in England, and we thought we were going to move. I think it was January time or February. And I then was like, okay, I'm giving up my house. So I gave up my house and I moved in with his mum. And we were like, we'll only be here for 6 weeks. Ended up being a year we were there for.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was lovely. Like I love his mum so much.
Yeah.
And I loved living there. But I think that the fact that she was there as well, it diffused things and issues that if we'd have lived together alone for a year, I don't know whether we would have moved out together. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have done, because it helped us and he's got a good job here and I love it here and whatnot. But I think that loads of things that were highlighted on the move were things that probably were there, but they just were niggling things, like little issues between us. But because I was with the mum there and she was helping me, like she was doing washing and we were both doing like cooking together and things like that, and like they had
Changes
friends around all of the all of the time and stuff. That kind of like diffused it. So yeah, we didn't last very long, but we lived together for 4 months, like after we broke up, in separate parts of the house, which was tough.
How did that go?
It was fine at the beginning, and then I was like, I want to start dating.
Naturally.
Yeah, I was like, I want to start dating.
I'm in a new country.
Yeah, I want to get out and about. Yeah. And something that I found is he's very he was very set in his ways and stubborn with things, and I'm very spontaneous and want to go out and do things, and I'm very no cares about, oh, I'll get this money back. And he was very much like, no, I don't want to do anything. And he was really wanting to get a job, which I totally understood because he didn't have a job when we came out and I did. And I was like, we'll be fine. And it was kind of eating away at my experience, and I felt like it sounds really bad. I feel like he was just dampening my sparkle a little bit, which I don't want to say about him, but I just that's how I felt.
But it's nothing to his character. It's that different people will bring out different things in us.
Absolutely.
And what I've come to learn, one of my good friends has told me for a long time, people are in our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And potentially the reason that you two were together because you were meant to both come here.
Exactly.
And he wouldn't have done it on his own. And I mean, it sounds like you probably would have anyway.
Yeah.
But you just never know. And so sometimes it's like, you know what, we just weren't meant to be that for each other. And therefore we aren't going to get along in the ways that a lifelong couple would.
100%. And also I feel like with any partner that I've been with, they've all taught me what I really want and what I don't want. And there's probably things that I brought out in him that other people wouldn't bring out that aren't nice. And although we came out and it's like we had 2 years and whatnot, I don't think it's a wasted 2 years, because I built really good relationships with his mum, and like they were very much like the 3 boys, and mum and the dad are separated, but they did lots of family stuff together, and that really heightened the fact that I want that. Like because it's only me and my mum.
Yeah.
I really want like to have a big family life and have Sundays all together and playing games, and that's what they did and stuff, and that was really nice. And it just like made me think this is a life that I can now envisage, like I can vision that more because I've been in it. So then I started doing social media stuff when I came out, basically, and just blew up accidentally.
Yeah, I was saying to you before we hit record that I came across you on my personal page when you'd freshly moved. So I don't know how your content found me, but the algorithm algorithmed and it met me. And I was like, wow, she's cool. And then I started
Oh,
following your journey and I was like, she's really picking up.
yeah,
Like, this is amazing. You're
insane.
very like giving with letting people into your world and really demonstrating what it was like to be in a new
Yeah.
country and to be assimilating with new people and a new job and all of that. And I can imagine that's probably helped a lot of people.
Well, it's funny you say that. I went to the GP the other day to discuss like my diagnosis from ADHD, and I had to get like some tests done. And I sat down. She went, "Oh my god, I follow you on Instagram." She went, "I didn't expect this today. I did not expect this today."
A
And I was
celebrity's walked
laughing,
into my practice.
and she went, "Your stuff is so helpful. I just moved here in November from Las Vegas." I was like, "How do you follow me? This is bizarre." And she was like, all of the things on how to get children's check, like fit to work, all of these things that I didn't know. So I wanted to put out there to help other people that were really simple. The thing about me is I might, I mean, I must be intellectual at some point in my body, somewhere in my body. There's some sort of intellect, but I'm not very good with words and jargon. So I just say it as it is, black and white. This is how you do it. You press that, you do this, you do that. And that's something that I couldn't find on the internet. It was very muddled up. I couldn't understand stuff. There was so much reading online about how to do this and how to do that. And there was nowhere on Instagram that I could find that were helping people. And I initially set the Instagram up to just allow my friends and family to watch me because we're on different time zones. And then I started doing stuff about how to move and what it is. And then people were sending me, "Can you show me what a food shop's like? Can you show me how to get rental markets, how to get a car, how to do this?" And then I went, so I had the TikTok and Instagram for about a year before coming out, but obviously because it was delayed, I
Mm,
didn't post anything for
mm.
such a long time. And then when I moved out, I definitely had less than 1,000 followers. I probably had about 500 followers. And within about 4 to 6 weeks, I got 40K maybe. I was waking up to like 4 or 5,000 a morning,
And I
which
can't
is
imagine that
mental.
that's what you thought would
No.
happen.
And like I was just literally taking pictures of artwork in Melbourne and like, "Hey, day one. Hey, day two." Because my mum was like, "I'm loving this. I'm loving watching you do stuff." Because she was like asleep when I was awake and vice versa. And because the main bulk of my followers at the beginning were from England, my phone would be quiet in the day, and then it would hit wake up time in England, my nighttime, and it would blow up. And then I'd go to sleep, and in the morning it would be like, what the hell? I'd have hundreds of DMs. So that was crazy. And then when I then had to start working, because I had a full month where I didn't work and we just went round and did stuff, which was really fun. Then I went to work and I couldn't post as much
Mhm.
because I was so busy.
Mm.
I didn't get as many followers. And then really bizarrely, when I go through a breakup, I got 10,000 followers. When my nana died and they followed my journey from Australia to going to England to go and see her when she was unwell, I got like 15,000 followers. And then when I was like leaving my job and I've been traveling quite a lot the last however many months, it's just massively gone up.
Because you were showcasing real life stuff that
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
goes through, and you're
Exactly.
posting the ins and outs, which people can relate to.
Yeah. And I think that people message me, they're like, "You're so authentic." And I'm like, what does that even mean? Because I'm always me. So I like when people say to me, "Oh, I'm authentic," I'm like, yeah, well, are other people not? Are
No,
other people not
they're not.
authentic?
No.
Yeah. And then I'm like, maybe they're not. Because I don't shoot things and do them over and over again. I literally will get my phone out and speak and send it off. And it might have 10 errors in, or I might have gone, "Oh, bugger," or swore on it. But I just send it out. Like I'm not really that bothered.
I think a lot of women, especially the women that I work with, it's not that they don't want to be authentic.
Yeah.
It's that at some point along their life, they've picked up these conditionings and they've latched
Yeah.
onto these identities
And
that
nervous,
they
I guess.
must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so whether it's, social media is one thing, but in various aspects of their life, they just don't feel like they can
Yeah.
be their authentic self
Oh, it's
because
so sad that, isn't
it
it?
is.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why it's done well, is because I have done quite raw content, I
I
guess.
agree.
But yeah, I did not expect this to happen. And it's funny because obviously I thought I was going to be a midwife for life. And I don't know what it is about my gut. Like when I decided to give my job up, I'd already been thinking, I think I want to do something else, whether it's helping women doing hypnobirthing or parent education, or whether it's helping people relocate, or whether it's coaching and helping people have more confidence in themselves. And when I eventually got to the stage where I was like, no, I've had enough now. I think I want to leave. I'm not actually enjoying it as much anymore. I just got a switch and I was like, right, that's it, off. And something my mum always says is, you're not one to go back. Once you've gone forward, you don't go back again. But I am still keeping my registration up in England, and I am still staying on the bank in the hospitals that I work in. But something inside my tummy's like, you're never going to be a midwife again.
Really?
Yeah, which is really sad. And it makes me feel a bit like sad now. And I'm like, we're never going to see a baby be born again. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the end of that. But I think it's the end of what I know midwifery has been for me. And I think it's going to change. I do think it's going to change. And I think that I've got another purpose within life as well. I don't think it's just to be a midwife. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with just being a midwife, because it's incredible.
Was there ever a moment where you questioned if you'd made the right move to come to Australia?
Oh God, no. Absolutely
Really?
not. There's not been a moment where I've been homesick. The only time I ever felt a pull to be in England for a more extended period of time, not even to move back, was when, because my mum is like, she's just the only family member I've got now in England, really. I've got my cousins and my uncle, but I don't really see them that frequently. Is when I went home and my nana passed, and then I had to leave my mum and come back and then just go back to work like nothing's happened. Like, my nana was a huge part of my life. For her to then die, I've then got to come back on a flight by myself and then not have a partner anymore. Got no one as like that stable person to come back to, an empty home, really. And that's the only time I've ever felt like, oh gosh, I wish I was around my friends and my mum right now. And that was more around me worrying about my mum. I've always worried about my mum. Like, that's since I was a child, because we went through so many traumatic events when I was a child, with death. There's so many people that died. When that obviously happened again, I felt like I'd gone back to being a child. And I felt like sometimes when I was a child, I looked after my mum because I was worried about her. And when I came back here, I was really worried about my mum. And I was like, oh God, she'll pretend she's okay because she's really supportive and she wants me to go out and do
Live
everything
life.
that I want. Yeah. But I know she'll be struggling. But she was coming for a month in like 3 or 4 months' time. So we had something to really look forward to, which pushed me. And I thought, right, no, I need to knuckle down. I'm going to get into work and do more social media and do all of these things. And then, then my mum came and she loves it and wants to move here now.
You're like, okay, but I'm a nomad now,
Yeah, I'm
and
like,
I don't have a set address.
Yeah, I'm like, I've got no fixed abode. I've got nowhere I'm living right now. I'm living out of a suitcase. But yeah, my mum, because she doesn't have family that she sees very frequently, she'll go where I go, I think, or very close to
That's
where I
so
go. Yeah.
cute.
Oh, it's so lovely. Because when I have kids, like, I do want her to be around.
100%, and I'm sure
Yeah.
she would want the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And she has always kind of liked the thought of big family life as well, that she didn't really have and I haven't had. And I would love to be able to bring her into that, because I think that when I was young, and I remember we went to Wales one time to our friends for Christmas, and even though you're there, you're not part of the family. So you just automatically feel like an outsider. And me and mum have always kind of had that in scenarios like that, because we don't have our own
Yeah.
huge family to be able to have that with. So I would love to be able to bring that in for both of us, because I think that would be really nice. I think she'd like that.
How exciting.
I know.
Exciting, but also confronting, I can imagine. I really want to talk about identity shifts because, as we discussed earlier, we have this self-concept of ourselves and we're really shaped by society and who people say that we are
Yeah.
and how they judge us. And then you became a midwife, and then you were at the hospital that you aspired to be. And
Yeah.
then you were on the other side of the world and you made all of that happen. Like, you literally made all that happen. And I can imagine that, you've shared that you're stepping away from midwifery as you've known it. How have you wrestled with your identity and come to terms with shedding of part of your identity, if you have even yet, because it's still fresh?
I actually, although a lot has changed in the last year, I feel like I've been in a transition since I've been about 29. I feel like I remember when it was, so I'm 32 now. So COVID was 3-4 years ago. So I remember when it was COVID, one of my exes was obsessed with affirmations, mindfulness, vision boards. And I was like, what are you doing? And him and my mum, because my mum's now a Buddhist and she teaches mindfulness.
Wow.
She flipped her life around. And both of them used to hammer it to me, and I'd be like, no. And the more they wanted me to do it, the less I wanted to do it. And I used to really repel it. And then I remember, like, he and I broke up. I then moved into my home, and I had all of this time during COVID. And that was the first time I like slowed down. I'm always on the go and I'm always doing stuff. And it was the first time where I would have a bath and I wouldn't be in a rush to get out. I'd read a book. And then I started, I downloaded Calm, the app Calm. And I was like, learn how to meditate. And I thought, oh, bugger it. I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to see.
Thanks, Jay Shetty.
Yeah. Oh, I love Jay Shetty. And I thought, bugger it, I'm just going to try it. And I got myself a pin board. I set myself goals. I put pictures on of what I wanted. And I was really embarrassed about that, and I used to hide it, and I didn't really like it initially. And then I was like, oh, I don't care now. I'm just going to go for it. And all of that practice and being more mindful and listening to my instincts and listening to my gut, which is things that I didn't do in my early 20s. I just kind of went along with things, and I was very easy at being influenced and influencing others. Like, I'm bad for influencing others with doing stuff as well. I then started thinking, right, what do I want? What do I really want from life? And that's when I got the job at the RVI. And then when I got the job at the RVI, I was thinking, right, what else can I get? And then each year I would set myself tasks and goals and things like that. And it's really funny because I moved out of my house a couple of weeks ago. And underneath my bed, I'd been listening to a book called Manifest by Roxy Nafousi. Do you know Roxy Nafousi?
Brilliant
Rise
woman.
with Roxy.
Yes.
Have you been listening?
Yes.
And she's fabulous. I love her. And I listened to her book, and she actually says on her vision board or on her goals, she writes them and hides them.
I've heard this.
Yes.
So different to what
other people teach.
I often say to people, because manifestation is something, manifestation or bringing your goals into your reality, whatever way you lean, like it's not as woo-woo as people think manifestation, and they kind of like shut off.
I know.
But I often say to people, we don't want a board full of pretty pictures at the end of the year.
Yeah,
like
100%.
That's not what we want.
And it's like, I remember listening to someone like putting in an order for your dinner, and you're getting it.
You're getting it.
Yeah, exactly. And so she said, write down what your goals are and what you want, and put it under your bed and put a date to review it. And I forgot it was there. And Brilliant. I moved out and I went upstairs and I was like, what's that on the floor? And they'd like, the removal people had put it on the side of the wall, on the wall. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read them. I will have, I think it was 100,000 followers.
And you've recently hit that 100K mark.
Yeah, I've got 107,000 now. So I was like, yeah, that's mental. I will, what was the other one? I will be self-employed, no longer being a midwife. I will be paid to travel. Yeah. And I
literally wrote it into existence.
I went, oh my God. And like, I've got goosebumps now.
Yeah.
And I also wrote on there, I will have a better relationship with my mum, because me and my mum were very similar. When we lived together, we would be like that, and like often fighting because we're so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And since my nana died, I was like, I really want to have a better relationship with my mum. And I'd written on there that I wanted to have a better relationship and that we have a really good time when she comes to visit. And we just last night had a FaceTime for like an hour, and we were talking about how we had a good time and we thought we were going to argue and we didn't argue. And I was like, that's so weird, because I put that out there that I wanted that to happen, and so would my mum. And it actually was really nice, the time that she spent. And now we want to do something again together, which we wouldn't have ever thought of, because when she wanted me to go away with her a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, oh, no. And now I'm like, yeah, let's do something. Yeah. So that was mental that I found all of those things. So I feel like as time's gone on and I've put those goals and visions and things out there and they've come to fruition, I've been like, oh shit, like I can actually do the things that I really want to do. And I've now started putting out bigger goals for myself that I wouldn't have ever have put out like 4 or 5 years ago. So although it might seem like to people, oh my God, she's gone from this to this in a short period of time, I've actually been doing a lot of like inner work and going to counseling and like doing things and journaling and meditating and mindfulness and walking and reading and like listening to audibles on self-help books. I've been doing that for quite a long time, intermittently over the last 5 years. So I think that now it's just all starting to come up and bubble up. Yeah. And it's like, it's exciting.
I really want to go into that further because I recently released an episode that was talking about wanting isn't our problem.
Yeah.
We all want things, but it's that in-between work between what you want and what you like actually living it and being there. Yeah. And that gap for me is often it's not the strategy, it's not the hustle, it's not the discipline. Yes, maybe there are little things here and there. The biggest thing that keeps most people stuck and what most people skip over is the subconscious work.
Yeah.
And that is the deeply held beliefs you might not consciously realize. Like, how are you subconsciously judging yourself?
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
are the little narratives and the stories that you hold about yourself and you believe to be true? Because you can say that you want this kind of wealth or this income or these life experiences. And whilst that might be so true for you, like you really want those things, there still can be completely opposing beliefs, that little
Yeah.
voice that you might not even consciously recognize,
Mhm.
where it's like, that's not really for you, or
Yeah,
like,
you're not gonna
could you
get that.
really do
Yeah,
that? So
exactly.
tell me about, I love that the fact that you said that you've done the work. It's not necessarily been, well, some of it could be overnight as well, but what do you think has been the key ingredients to being able to literally transform the life into the one that you are just so excited to get out of bed for?
The key ingredients, I guess it's like, consistency and being one thing that I do flip from being very good at self-talk to very negative with
Hmm.
self-talk, but I feel like it always comes back to me wanting to be more grounded and more like within, listening to my instincts and listening to my gut. And I guess that's something that's really pushed me through, is like, this might not feel right now, but you know that it's going to get you somewhere else. And someone said to me, no matter what room you go into, even if you don't like the course that you've gone, you're going to meet someone there that's going to take you somewhere. And that's what I always think is, every experience that I've gone through, whether it feels right or doesn't feel right at that time, it always leads me to somewhere else, or I always learn something from that. So I just think that the main thing is like really listening to my gut and my instincts.
A lot of people stay stuck in scenarios, relationships, work situations that they know isn't meant for them
Yeah,
anymore, but they stay out of fear. There's a lot of, our brain likes to keep us
100%.
safe.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who is feeling that knowing that this just isn't right for me now, but I just don't know how or what to do next?
I guess it's like trying different things. So what I did was, I always knew that I wanted to. Uh, Midwifery was not going to give me the money that I wanted to be able to have a life that I wanted. And that is nothing to do with me saying, I want designer this, I want designer that. It comes down to, I want to have a life where my kids are comfortable and they don't want for anything. And they have the ability to then do things that I wasn't able to do. And I don't want to be stressed about money
Mhm.
around my children, which is what my mum was, not intentionally, but she was stressed about money. And that's what's made me want to do better or more in life. So I guess that what I did was, when I was doing midwifery, it's like, right, what can I do while I'm at work when I'm not busy that might potentially get me another income or help me learn new things about myself as well.
Mm.
So when I was doing midwifery and I started doing mindfulness practice, I was like, there's loads of talk about hypnobirthing. And then I was like, God. And when I started researching, so I used to go on a night shift and I'd be researching on a night shift and people would be like, what are you doing? And I'd be doing work while I was at work when
Professional
I wasn't busy.
development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, why are people not doing this thing? And I think that something that I do is, any opportunity where I have something else that I can do, I always try and do it, unless I'm knackered. But I'm always doing something, like on Canva, I'm creating something or doing something. And I remember when I was looking at hypnobirthing, I was like, this is really aligned with my life. How can I create something? And then I tried that. And then that did, like, it took a little while, but that did really well. And then I was like, right, what can I do next? And I think that putting yourself out there to start off is really important to work out what you want to do. I would never have given up my job at the beginning of doing those things, because yes, I want security. You need it. If you've got
Yeah.
children, you need to have an income. You need to pay for your mortgage. You need to pay for all of these things. But one thing that I would say that has flipped completely in the last 5 years is, you don't have to buy a house. You don't have to buy a car. You don't have to do all of these things. You don't have to live with all of these things that you think that you have to live with. You can do alternative things. You can move away with a small amount of money. You don't have to have a huge amount of money. You can go for that business opportunity if you want it, if it doesn't feel right. But I would always say, start off small and do things to help you believe more in yourself. So like on my goals, it would be like small things like, I can run X amount. So during COVID, I would be like, right, I do two 5K runs and a 10K run or something. And then when I was saying this to myself all of the time, it might be a small thing, but then I was able to achieve it. I felt better about it and I was doing well and being able to achieve things, and it made me feel better and proud of myself. And then I could implement more things. So I think the advice I give to people is, what's the worst that can happen if you try? If it's not going to be, do a free course on photography, do anything, do just a random thing. Go to work and say, what money have you got in your pot that will allow me to go and learn more? Can I do a prescriber's course? Can I do this course? And all of those things can help you meet other people that might 10 years down the line come in handy.
That connection.
Exactly.
That
it's all about building connections and putting yourself out and getting out of your comfort zone. And something I get messaged a lot, like even last night, are you out for dinner by yourself? I can't believe you do that.
I shared with you that I traveled solo for a while. That was the number one question.
Really?
And it would come from a lot of women
Yes.
at restaurants, because I would be sitting there by myself.
Yeah.
And so many of them were like, I would love to travel, but I don't think I could. Like I'd be by myself.
Limiting belief. That's what it is.
And fear of being alone as
100%,
well.
100%, yeah. And I used to fear being alone, but I actually enjoy it much more now. And a lot of people messaged me when I first moved over and I became single and I was going out for coffees by myself, putting pictures of me reading with a Prosecco for like happy hour by myself. How are you doing that? And I said, it just starts with something small. I was like, just if you feel uncomfortable, the first thing that you try is, right, I've got this really good book that I'm really into. I'm just going to go and sit. I'm going to say 45 minutes in this cafe. I'm going to sit in the corner of a room so I don't feel like people are staring at me, and I'm going to try that. And people have messaged me saying, I did that today, and they're really proud of themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Like, that is amazing. And then just doing more and more things like that. And it's the same with work, like putting yourself out there, doing extra things that might take only a short period of time, or setting time in a week, like 1 hour to do mindfulness stuff or really work out what you want to do. And it might just be even, I don't know, writing down like to-do lists on what you really fancy doing, or like things that you've come across that you thought, oh, I really like that. That really gives me like happiness, and soul searching and finding out what brings you happiness and doing little things to be able to get there. It's like the little things. Everyone looks in the future too far.
Yes.
And then they're terrified. They think, how am I ever going to get there? So like lots of people message me, how do you move us to Australia? How do you get there? And actually, if you just start on the process of all the little things, they're actually not that hard to do. It's just the little things each step and having the guidance. And that's something that I really want to help people with, is guiding people to realize that there's more. I think the little steps are the things that you need to do rather than thinking of the mammoth steps.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And that's something that I also teach, is that we're not here to build the whole staircase, because we don't know the directions that we must go to, like the steps along the way that we need to go to in order to get to the next stage of our life. We can't just go from A to B.
Yeah.
I think we often as a society, we want that instant gratification. We want that goal right now. We need to get there. We hold on so tightly. Like, I'm so guilty of this, of just being, I see it so clearly and I want it so much.
Why is it not happening?
I want it to happen, happen in this way.
Yeah.
But, and I often say, like, when you loosen your grip, you allow room to be delighted by life and for things to actually work out even better than what you could have imagined.
It's frustrating though, because I've had times in the last year where I've thought something was going to happen and it hasn't. And then 6 months later, I've gone, I'm glad that didn't happen because I've now got this instead, or I've now chose this, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'd have done that. But at the time, it's really hard not to get frustrated. And I'm not saying that I don't go through dips of, like, I think people out from an outside perspective think she's going really good, like everything she's doing is working. There's so many times I get knockbacks. Like, there's so many times that things don't work out for me. And I do discuss that with people. But like, when you see Instagram, you only see the things that are going well or happening for someone. And I think something about Instagram, and even me for scrolling, is you do look at people's life and think, God, is that their life all the time? But it probably isn't. And that's something that I try and bring in with my Instagram, is like, try and be more real and authentic and be normal and show what normal life is, because things are tough. It doesn't always work out. I didn't expect to be. I thought I was going to be potentially engaged, potentially like buying a house here, like all of these things that have changed. And now I'm like, God, thank God I'm not doing any of those things. Like, because I really want to travel. I really want to do loads of stuff before I have kids and things. And I never would have thought that a couple of years ago. So yeah, all the knockbacks try not, like, one thing, a piece of advice is, like, all of the knockbacks, don't let that stop you from getting to where you want to go to, because I think that sometimes the knockbacks are what make you actually do better, because you then question, right, why didn't that work? What can I change? What do I need to look at? What maybe am I not allowing into my life because
Yes.
I'm doing this and doing that? And just shedding some of the stuff that you don't enjoy, but you think you should be doing, just chopping that off and freeing some time to do some stuff that you really want to do.
It's almost like allowing you to course correct.
Yeah.
I also think when somebody is faced with, like you were saying, around going and sitting at a coffee shop and people having a lot of apprehension around that, often I find that if you really shine a light on what's behind that feeling. So I believe that our feelings and what's happening in the world around us is often mirrors for the things that the insecurities and everything
Yes,
we have within.
absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're going through life and there's some roadblocks, or there's things that you would like to do but you're apprehensive, don't be afraid to have a really honest conversation with yourself around why am I feeling like this,
Yeah.
and keep asking yourself the question why. Okay, so then what? And why? And why do I feel like that? And get to that core and be like, okay, it's actually, I'm really scared of what other people will think if I'm sitting here by myself and I'm worried about people judging me. Okay, well, that's the first step. We shine a light on that.
Yeah.
You can, that in itself helps to disarm that
100%.
emotion.
Yeah.
And you can then start to pivot your life or change or do that little step. But I love what you said before. It's about breaking it up into little steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like you're talking about there about, well, what's the worst can happen? Tell me why? Because I guess, like, the root cause often isn't what we think is the reason why.
Yes.
And like, if you don't ask yourself those questions, you never get down to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
And although, like, I've journaled on and off for a long time, and something that I do if I'm ever in a predicament of where I want to go and what I want to do is I just go to the beach and sit on a bench and write down a pros and cons list. And it might be something like, why should I carry on dating this person? And they might have a pros list that is like 20 long and a cons list that's like 3. But there's something niggling about that con that means all of those other pros are not working for
Those
me.
cons are just, they're weighted differently.
Yes, exactly. And then also writing it down and in list form, or writing it down in a way, it's like a diary. It stops you overthinking things and what's the word, like when it just repeatedly goes round in circles. And that's something that can happen with me if I'm doubting myself. And often if I do even just going for a walk with like music on, or even no music, and sometimes leaving my phone in the car, which doesn't happen very often, but when you do, it just really gives you some clarity and a clear head. And something that I find with a lot of my followers is they have big families where they're very busy and they prioritize everyone else but themselves. And even if they did 1 hour where they said, right, 2 30-minute walks a week when the kids are asleep, or when my partner or the kids are at school or whatever, I'm just going to go out and do something for me, or journal, or write something down, then that might give them a bit more clarity on, right, what are my next steps to get out of the life that I'm not enjoying, and what can I do to make it better?
I love that. What's one thing that you wish people knew about embodying and living as that like authentic, unfiltered version of you?
It's like freeing.
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird because I like structure and I'm not in structure right now, but I know that it's going to come to some degree, but I just feel like free. And when I gave up my job, although I felt sad, I felt like a weight has lifted, and I was like, oh God, I can just like be me and like just do what I want
So
to do.
liberating.
Yeah. And like, I just don't like being told what to do. And I've just always been better at being my own boss. And I wrote on my vision board, I had a picture with saying, I am my own boss. And I just had a computer on a lounger on the beach. And I'm like, that is what I want. I'll get there somehow. I don't know when it's
100%
going to
you will.
happen, but I'll get there somehow. And now I'm nearly there. And I think that I'm going to be in turmoil over the next 3 months trying to figure out how that looks. But I know that it's going to come, and it feels really like, I just feel a lot lighter, which is nice.
So then looking forward, the next 12 months, is there anything we should be keeping our eye out for in your world?
See, I'll be doing lots of travel.
Mhm.
I'm going to do lots of travel. I'm going to Dubai. I want to go to Bali. I love Bali so much. I feel like it's such a spiritual place, and people get the wrong idea when they first go to Bali because it can be quite dirty, and people are like, oh. But actually, it's just so you can just wear whatever you want. You don't have to dress up. You can just look how you want, and you can just go on the back of a moped, listen to music, and just drive around the streets and go to beautiful cafes and lovely places. And I just love it so much there. I really want to do a retreat. I'd love to potentially do retreats with people. I really want to go on a retreat. I really want to do more traveling all over. I'd love to go to Thailand. I really want to go to Japan. I guess over the next 12 months, I'm just trying to find out who I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to do, and taking people along with me, I guess. This is the first time in my life where I haven't had a plan.
Which could have been very anxiety provoking
Yes.
for most.
Yeah.
But it seems like you have done the inner work.
Yeah.
You are living life the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what's the worst that can happen?
And also, like, for the last like in my 20s, I've always had plans. And what I've then done is I've ignored my intuition, gone along with the plan because I think that's what I should do because all my friends are doing that. But then it's made me unhappy and not be who I am. And now I'm like, oh, bugger it. I'm just going to do what I want. And I know that I'm then going to meet someone who's going to be in with that
Yes.
world, or I'm going to make friends with people who are more aligned in what I want to do going forward. And yeah, it's just so nice to not have a plan and not be putting pressure on myself to do anything. It's just, okay, I've got a ticket to here. I know roughly what money I've got, and I know that I'll get a ticket to somewhere else and it'll bring something. But I know I've always got midwifery, and I know I've always got hypnobirthing. I know I've always got parent education that I can always go back into if I want to, because I've got something there that's a fallback, which I actually don't think I will go back into, but you never know.
We live in a world of abundance. And
Yeah.
I think I would love a lot more people to realize that money like can flow to you in unexpected and abundant ways.
That's
and
it.
there is just so much for everyone. And so I can't imagine that you'll have a problem attracting the right opportunities and the right people into your life.
I'm excited. I am excited.
So you were very, very sharing and open and giving with your knowledge and experiences on your social media.
Yeah.
Where can we find you online? Where's the best place?
So basically Instagram, UK Midwife Down Under is my main hub. I do have TikTok, but I don't know. I feel like TikTok, I just haven't had the time to put as much stuff into that. Just having a full-time job and having Instagram and TikTok, it takes up a lot of time, and editing videos and whatnot. But I've recently set up a YouTube, which is also UK Midwife Down Under, all in one word. And I've been putting stuff on there, a bit more about my ADHD, a bit more about, I'm going to be doing more about travel stuff, how to relocate, helping people move. I'm also working with a guy who's going to help people find new homes if they're first-time buyers. So people who want to transition from the UK with families who want to buy a house as well as get a job, can help them with that. So yeah, UK Midwife Down Under on Instagram, and then YouTube and TikTok. But that's where the majority of my stuff is. And I think at some point I will start a podcast.
I think you absolutely should.
But I actually
all in
think,
good time.
Yeah, I actually think that YouTube is better because of my facial expressions, because they're quite funny, I hear. So I feel like sometimes that's a bit better because then people can actually see my face and what I do, because I'm a bit quirky and daft like that. So I thought, right, I'll start YouTube first, and then we'll see where it takes me. But I'd love to write a book. That's one of my things.
What
I don't
would
know
be
what
on?
I don't know what on. I go through stages of like, I want to write a book.
Write it on your board and put it under your bed.
Yeah, I need
And
to
we'll
do
check
that,
back.
don't I? Yeah, I should do that. I do want to write a book at some point. And it's funny because I went to a fortune teller. I love them. I love a clairvoyant.
Yeah.
And I went to one maybe about 3 years ago, and she was like, oh, you're always on planes. You're just always on planes. And I was like, great. And she went, I can see a room with like crystals and I don't know, like, I was like, great, because I love doing stuff like that. I love teaching like meditation and stuff. And she was like, are you going to write a book or like be on a podcast or something? I can see you with a microphone. I was like, great. And then I had one
Maybe
last
she's
night.
just picturing this right now.
Maybe. She might be. And then I had one last night randomly from one of my followers, and she was like, I feel like you're on an escalator to a radio show or something. And I was like, stop it.
You know what? Whatever is meant to be for me will find me.
Exactly. So I'm just like open to opportunities. And what I found is the less pressure I put on myself at Instagram, the more that comes in, because I'm just like, it's fine. I'll just post when I can post. I'll put up what I can put up. I don't want to put up inauthentic stuff. I'll just post what I post, and then people come to me.
I think that's why people have really taken a liking to you, because they can sense that.
Yeah. Oh, It's mental.
I'm so glad that you have joined me today. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
I think that a lot of people, I already know from the people that follow you, but the people that will listen to this, I know that it will spark further questioning of whether they will just take that leap and make that pivot and make that transition and take that small step.
And something that I say to people is, ask me 5 years ago where I thought I would be. It's not here.
Yeah.
So if you're in a rut where you think, oh my God, I'm never getting out of it, just look at me and see what I've done, because it's not what I thought I was going to do. And that could be you,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Yay, it was lovely.
Let's go grab lunch.
Let's.
Okay.
I go off on tangents because I've got ADHD.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
It's so funny. Mike, I've got a counsellor called Jo who I love, and her daughter has ADHD, and I think that's why I get on with her when I have my counselling sessions. And when we first had an appointment, it was just like a 15-minute chat just to work out whether we get on.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. And she just went, I love people with ADHD. This is before I was diagnosed. She went, I love people with ADHD because you just tell me your whole life story in 15 minutes. It's great.
You do my job for me.
Yeah. She's like, it's brilliant. So that was funny. I thought, yeah, I do that. And I'll go on tangents and people will be like, where are you in this conversation? Because it takes other people ages to get up to where I am. Yeah. And then I'll be like, this is what it links in with.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
I was
right.
this was a journey. I was bringing you on the journey.
Exactly.